So we just had a meeting with our pension fund for the first time after trying to get a meeting for several months. That followed a process of engaging with other people in the company who want to create a option where they can invest their pension so that it's not invested in fossil fuel companies. And that followed being trained by Share Action, which is a responsible investment charity, to help us understand how best to do that.
I must confess I'm slightly embarrassed to say that I had no idea, really, and it was just something that I hadn't really thought about. It was, about future retirement funds and so on, and just not something that I'd really engage with. And what made me start thinking about this was my involvement with the Guardian's Keep It in the Ground campaign, which is highlighting the fossil fuel divestment movement, and partly as a result of that campaign, the Guardian has moved its own funds from fossil fuel companies, and I started to think quite carefully about the moral arguments, but also the financial arguments around fossil fuel divestment. So yes, I hadn't really engaged with any of this before, and so finding out what I was invested in and the extent of that, and the fact that I had any agency over that. I didn't actually think that I had any ability to change it, but it sounds like I do, so that was quite interesting and exciting to know.
It was the trustees were very positive, and they've committed to talking to our fund company about the possibility of having a fossil-free fund, and also about engagement with our staff. But it feels like it could be still a long way to go, but there is movement.
I think we got a sense of how conservative and how slowly this industry moves. At one point the investment manager said, it's, quotes, early days, whereas to us, it feels like these arguments have been out there for years now, we've been running this campaign for months, and really serious people like Mark Carney at the Bank of England has come out and said that there are big financial risks to some of these companies, and you've got people like the Church of England divesting from coal, and the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund moving. All sorts of organisations, loads of universities and so on, who've already gone through this process and thought about it, whereas it felt a little bit like they were a bit behind some of that. But I don't know, I think fundamentally it was positive in the sense that they said, we have a commitment to choice, and if there's demand for this, then we'll make it happen. So I don't think it'll happen very quickly, but I think it will happen.
Yeah. I think there's a sense of the issue around member engagement, and we talked about the importance of financial literacy, that actually a lot of that engagement is actually, we get lots and lots of information. We don't know really what it means, so we don't really read it. We shut down from the information, and we're fearful of making a change. What if we affect our wealth in the future? So people just shut away from it and don't think about it, whereas actually the Keep It in the Ground campaign show that people do care about this. So the language needs to change. I think the understanding, the appreciation of people's fears and knowledge needs to change as well.
Well, they've given us a commitment to meet with our pension fund and for one of us to be there, which is great. So we can kind of short circuit, although they told us this and we told them that, and and then we can put to our pension fund, if they're saying that engagement with fossil fuel companies is better, then we'd like hard evidence for that, so we can ask for them to give us the facts. And then I think they're going to do a review of how they communicate with members. We've put 4 asks to them. So one is for a fossil fuel free fund, one is for them to do a review of the pension fund more broadly in terms of climate risk, one is to continue to communicate with the group, and another is to look at how to communicate with members, and they said that they would review all of them and come back to us with responses to them. So I think the biggest thing is that pension funds are just not used to hearing from members, and so I think they actually quite like to hear from members. It wasn't a go away, it was a welcome, come in, we'd like to hear your views, and that was really nice. And I think it's just about putting it higher up on their to-do list, really. Like, everybody has to-do lists, and it's quite easy to put something that's really complicated and big right at the bottom of it. And so by having sort of a group of employees in the room, face-to-face, saying, what are you going to do about this? Give us hard commitments. What are the next steps? They have to come back to us. So, start the process.
Yeah.
It's quite good fun.
I thought they really enjoyed the fact that they could actually do something positive as well. So rather than just sitting there talking about numbers and how they're not engaging with staff very well, they actually can make potentially a difference, make something realistic and real. And I think that's what they wanted. They wanted to find a solution for us. The questions, they didn't know quite how to do it yet.
I mean, to be fair to them, there aren't that many solutions out there that exist, I think, or at least certainly not with our pension provider, Legal & General, that there are a couple of funds that are sort of, my interpretation of what they were saying anyway, there were funds which are lower in fossil fuels, but they're just, Legal & General at the moment just doesn't provide one. I mean, I before the experience, I was a little bit worried that they might be, slightly dismissive or much more negative than the experience that we had. So although they didn't exactly, welcome us with open arms and say, "Here you go. Here's your fund. You can sign up to it today," kind of thing. They were never going to do that because they have some pretty weighty legal responsibilities, and at the end of the day, they do have, the safeguarding of members' cash on their consciences and as part of their legal duty. But yeah, they were generally amenable to moving things on. So we'll see how it develops. I wouldn't put it quite that grandly. I said earlier on that I felt like before I had no choice or no agency over this, and now I feel like I do. So that's positive. I think we can make a change, and we actually might be able to influence other companies, because what they said was, they need a certain threshold figure for the amount of savings that would be worth their while, or Legal & General's while, to create such a fund. And it's unlikely that the Guardian will be able to do that on its own. So we might be able to influence a whole bunch of companies to come and join us, which would be a multiplier effect that's even bigger than us.
Yeah, I think there's opened up the realisation of how complex it all is, and I think there's a level of compromise has to be made here. But I think the financial institutions themselves, not the trustees, are still playing the defensive game. They're not used to being asked these questions, and so they come up with a lot of information that tries to confuse you. It felt a little bit to me, like the tools. It doesn't sound. Is it really that difficult to create a fossil fuel tracker? Apparently, it is.
We don't have to create the tracker though.
Yeah.
Somebody's already done it.
It's out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't quite understand either.
But the Chief Financial Officer, Darren Singer, who's chairing the meeting, made quite a fundamental point, which is that this is a market, and the market will respond to demand. So somehow we need to create the demand.
Yeah,
that can be done. Come and join us if you're. We probably can't say the name.
That's a good point. Come and join us. Work back to the bit you were saying before.
If you're in a company and you want your money not to be invested in the companies that are killing the planet, then drop me a line at emma@theguardian.com.
But maybe guess less aggressively though.
Right.